You know, folks, about a year or two ago, I commissioned, challenged, or asked, or requested, depending on how you look at it, for MJKnight to do a review of the Doomsday Project Saga. Or as I look at it, when you edit all 4 episodes together, the Doomsday Project movie. Now you're probably wondering, how did I do that? Well, quite frankly, it's a lot simpler than it may look. Let's just say it takes a very strong eye coordination, and it takes precise timing. I mean, quite frankly, I had tried this before, even when I lived on my own. Never really could get it down pat. There were several times where I did it, but I ended up getting parts of the title screen for the episode that I wanted to not get. So, for example, one of the first few times I tried, I ended up getting, after I put Doomsday on there, after I recorded the Doomsday title screen after the intro, I ended up getting the Cry of the Wolf title screen, and I didn't want that to happen. So, after several attempts, I finally was able to get the episode. I was finally able to edit it together to where it seems like it just flows seamlessly into the next episode, or into the next scene. Basically, you got the intro, you got the Doomsday title card, and then you go right into Cry of the Wolf. No title card for Cry of the Wolf, no title card for Druid Hedge, no title card for Spy Hog, and no outro credits. No outro or credits as well. Or no credit outros, to be precise. Basically, you had the intro for the series, you had the Doomsday title card, you had the episodes seemingly flow into each other, one after the other, and then you had the Doomsday title card, or the Doomsday credit outros to finish it off. But now the question is, what are my thoughts on it? Well, I think I may have done a review, maybe not. If I did, it's probably on here somewhere. But what are my thoughts on it? Well, quite frankly, I thought overall Season 2 was good. And true, like a lot of people have admitted, Season 2 had its hiccups. It really did. It had its hiccups. I mean, let's not deny it. I mean, I think one fan said it best. Rashitsu said it best. And what she said was, you could take the 2 episodes that consisted of 2 11-minute shorts each, you could take them out and nothing would be affected. The only reason those were there, as I put in my History of Sonic SatAM blog, or essay, or whatever you want to call it, document, that you can also find here on YouTube, and you can find, because I read it, and you can find it on DeviantArt at BVW1979. I basically say there that the reason they were put together was due to the fact, folks, that they needed something to show that things were getting more lighthearted. They needed something to show that things were getting more lighthearted. They needed something, and they got something. Excuse me. They needed to show there was more light in tone. And true, a majority of them were focused on Antoine. Why? Because he was, as far as the cartoon was concerned, the comic relief. So you need something that's going to make those shorts funny and lighthearted, to prove that the season is a lot lighter and not darker, and that's why Antoine was the main focus of at least 3 of them. That is no joke. Again, like I said, that is no joke. It's no joke. That's basically why it was done. Basically. But getting back to the Doomsday episodes themselves, the Doomsday episodes actually was set up in the Prelude episode, I like to call it, The Void. And it's kind of ironic that we had the last of the two 11-minute short comedic episodes in between The Void and the start of the saga. The Prelude episode basically introduced us to the Doomsday Project. It was hinted at, it was basically talked about in a scene. We got an idea of what it was, and the discussion, it set things up. Now, the freedom fighters that come into play for it, that was set up at the beginning in the second season when Ari talked about the list. Yeah, the list of freedom fighters. And how he was not the only one, he and his group were not the only ones. So, Game Guy and The Void set up the scenarios of first the list of freedom fighters, and The Void followed up on that with Sally's father giving her the list of freedom fighters to fight the Doomsday Project. Now, the Doomsday Saga, in its own right, as I like to call it, or the Doomsday Project movie, really built and really climaxed some arcs that we had in Season 2. First of all, yes, we got to be introduced to the new freedom fighter groups. The first one, of course, being probably one of the more popular groups out there, one of the more well-known, besides the Knothole freedom fighters, led by one of the most popular characters probably ever in the Sonic cartoon and comic universes, and that's Loop the Wolf. He was introduced, and Cry the Wolf was introduced us to the Doomsday Pods. I think that's what they were called. Now, it did its job there by not only kind of introducing us to Loop and the Wolf Pack, but they also did their job by introducing us to the other group of freedom fighters that we would see later on in Doomsday themselves. Now, the next episode, or part of the saga or movie, depending on how you look at it, was Droonhedge. This really set up something that I think, had a third season been made, would have been explored more. You see, Sally gets summoned by, well, not summoned, but Sally's presence is requested by Uncle Chuck. So she is flown to Robotropolis in the rain. Well, it's always raining in Robotropolis, according to the series. But she's flown there by Dulcie to find out that Robotnik had discovered a place called Droonhedge. Now, Droonhedge is basically the secret location, or the secret hiding place and location of the Droonhedge scrolls, I believe. Basically, these 3 scrolls, according to what we saw, contain the location of the Deep Power Stones. The Deep Power Stones basically being a Deus Ex Machina, as some fans would look at it later on. Basically, the Deep Power Stones, basically, they had a unique plot to them, because we find out that if they're put together one way, they create infinite power and great possibilities. But put together another way, and they create great destruction. So it does give you a plot line for them to be used later on. But the other thing that Droonhedge did was it wrapped up a story arc that was going on in Season 2. See, throughout Season 2, we saw hints of Tails being trained by Sonic, Bunny, and I think even indicated and even seen maybe at one point by Sally. So he was being trained by all the freedom fighters, Sonic, Bunny, Sally, Rotor, to, be good at what he was doing. I mean, I'll give one of the 11-minute shorts credit, which was Ghostbusted. It focused on Tails being trained on how to locate things and use senses and stuff like that. So Droonhedge basically wrapped up that whole arc, that whole little sub-arc, by having Tails become an official freedom fighter, because it's Tails that takes all that knowledge, all that training that that he was taught by Sonic, Bunny, Sally, Dulcie, Rhoda, and maybe even Antoine, he puts it to good use, comes up with a plan to create a decoy Power Stone to distract Robotnik, to throw Robotnik off, and thus allow him and the others to find the real Power Stones with the other Druid Head scroll. And I liked that. I really did. Because one, it introduced a plot point, or some might call it a Deus Ex Machina, to come into play later. Now the next episode, Spy Hog, was a real good one as well. Well, the next part of the saga was Spy Hog. Part of the movie saga was Spy Hog. And this one really wrapped up something, or tried to wrap up something. Well, basically it wrapped up one part of something, and then had a third season been done, probably would have continued it on. And that is the fact that in Spy Hog, it's pretty much when you look at the title, or the chapter, or the portion of the saga, the movie, whatever, you pretty much know the Spy Hog portion of the saga or the movie basically focuses on Uncle Chuck being on the cover. Basically, Uncle Chuck, since the second episode, which was Sonic Conversion, and where at the end he gets his free will back, and that's the second episode of the second season. He's been a spy undercover for the Freedom Fighters, basically trying to find out vital information to give them an edge, as well as basically find a way, as well as basically find, also find some roboticizer parts, because one of the main plot points in this series, or in this episode, one of the main plot points, I should say, in this episode, like I said, one of the main plot points, or one of the subplot points throughout the season, I should say, basically earlier on, is the Freedom Fighters. And I think this was even connected to the first season in the episode Ultrasonic. Well, basically, they're trying to find roboticizer parts to create a de-roboticizer. So Uncle Chuck, as a part of his undercover mission there, to not only give him an edge with the vital information he can give to them, also is there to try to collect roboticizer parts for the de-roboticizer. Now, what's interesting about Spy Hog is it also wraps up something too, that if you're a fan, you pretty much felt like, yeah, he deserves a moment. Let's give it to him. It's long overdue. It does create a hero moment for Antoine. Yeah, Antoine. See, basically, there's a scene, because after they get information that, like I said, helps give them an edge over Robotnik, there's a scene, basically, where they use these magnetized vests, and one of the wires on Sally's vest comes loose, and the magnetation that her vest has to the underside of a tanker, of a oil tanker, which they're trying to drain the oil out, I guess, to help them in the war. Basically, part of the wire, one of those wires come loose, and she's just dangling now, basically by a hand from underneath the tanker. And it's Antoine that has to grab her by her belt, by the vest belt, and allow her enough time to not only be not seen, but allow her enough time to reconnect the wire. So what does this do? This earns him something that he had been wanting even since the first season, and that's a kiss. Now, of course, being Antoine in the cartoon, he has to blab about it. He has to throw his ego around. He has to blab about it. He has to let his ego get out of control. And, of course, Sonic, he doesn't believe him until Sally shows up, and thus, boom, gives him the evidence, and thus is shown, and thus the evidence basically is right in Sonic's face of exactly what Antoine was talking about. And Antoine gets a kiss on the cheek for it. Now, of course, Antoine, like I said, being Antoine in the cartoon, lets it go to his head. He keeps blabbing about it to the point when Robotnik pretty much figures out that the reason that the Freedom Fighters have always been ahead of them once he figures out, hey, we got a spy in our works, starts combing the area, finally discovers one of the spy bugs of Uncle Chuck's. And once Rhoda can see information about it, Antoine says, nope, allow me to do it, gets Dulcie to take him there. And the only reason is because he lets not only him saving Sally, but mostly the kiss he got from Sally go straight to his head. And basically, in the long run, it causes him to get captured. Because at the same time, while he's trying to warn Uncle Chuck about the bug, Uncle Chuck and Sonic, they're listening in on some information to get, like I said, that advantage. Find out that maybe it's a bug malfunction. And we find out that the bugs that Uncle Chuck has been using has been Robotnik's bugs. Long story short, Antoine gets captured, mistaken at first for the spy that Uncle Chuck is. And you have Snively basically tormenting him because he's looking up information about him to find any kind of weakness. And he finds it. And basically the weakness is Antoine's love for French cooking and having it done right. To the point that you get a scene where basically, Snively's tormenting him with this stuff. And when he gets to the escargot part, when basically the way he gets Antoine to snap is basically he's preparing escargot, doing it right until he shows him what looks like butter, but it's actually margarine. And basically that causes Antoine to snap. And thus Sonic has to save him. Long story short, Sonic goes to the junk heap where he pretty much knows Antoine, the only way Antoine got here was by Dulcie. So he pretty much goes there. At the same time, Sally and Bunny arrive after they get the information about the Doomsday project that they need, as well as finding out about Uncle Chuck's bug being discovered. Long story short, Uncle Chuck gets captured after he's finally discovered as the real spy. He has to get rescued by Sonic and the others. Antoine basically throughout this is being taken by Sonic back to Dulcie, back to the junk heap. Basically has Dulcie taken back to Knothole. You have Sally, like I say, Sally and Bunny arrive and having Sally ask what happened, and Sonic's like, I'll tell you later. Which pretty much you could guess Sonic probably telling her, yeah, that kiss you gave Antoine? It went straight to his head. This is why we've always warned you not to kiss him. Or even think about it. Yeah, I wish they would have added that scene. I'm pretty sure anybody else would have. But anyway, I know I'm rambling on here and I do apologize. Basically to get to the point of it, Uncle Chuck, this part of Uncle Chuck's spy life, or undercover life is over, but a new chapter begins because pretty much Uncle Chuck reveals that he was ready for it, was prepared for this to happen, and thus shows Sonic and Sally and Bunny that the way he's going to be undercover now is to use basically some of the robots, like manufacturing robots that Robotnik uses to manufacture stuff or assist him with stuff. One of the assistobots, if you will. So that's what happens. And basically, of course, the Freedom Fight, Sonic, Sally, and Bunny, they're trying to convince him, hey, you need to come back. It doesn't matter if, you got a new way of spying and snooping and all that. It doesn't matter. If he found you out once, he's going to find you again. But of course, Uncle Chuck being Uncle Chuck and the respect and love they have for him, basically says, hey, look, I know you guys are worried, but until Robotnik is completely out of the picture, I got to stay here. So that basically leads us into Doomsday. And the Doomsday one is when everything comes together because Robotnik actually outsmarts the Freedom Fighters. He outsmarts them by making them think, because apparently, like I said, this does kind of relate to the previous portion of the Spy Hog portion or chapter. Robotnik pretty much, even though Uncle Chuck escaped, he pretty much has an idea that Uncle Chuck might still be spying on him somewhere, somehow, some way. So apparently, Uncle Chuck sends out a report that, the Doomsday Project's going to happen within a week. But Robotnik does that apparently to throw them off, and he launches it a week early. Sonic acknowledges this, I should say. when he tells Antoine that Robotnik suckered them when Antoine sees the pod popping up out of the ground after the ground starts shaking and everything because of the launch of the Doomsday Project. So basically you have Sally sending out messages with these robotic hummingbirds. She's sending out the messages and all that to the other groups that, hey, Doomsday, Robotnik tricked us, Robotnik fooled us. The time is now. We got to get this. We got to get blankety blank done. Like I said, Robotnik's basically, long story short, and I know I said that a lot today. She basically lets them know that Robotnik suckered them, like Sonic said, and now's the time for them to have to fight Robotnik, basically. They have to fight him, and yeah. That basically now's the time to fight him. That it's not that they can't wait. They can't wait a week because now it's happening now. Robotnik basically tricked them. He fooled them, and they do exactly that. They come together. They plan out. Okay, we got to do this. We got to do that. Ari points out that a direct assault won't work, which was Plan A. Plan B they go with, but apparently Robotnik, he's ready for them. He knows what they're gonna do. He's ready for them. And everything, and long story short, he ends up capturing Loop, Ari, Paulo and Dirk, which are the Southern and Eastern Freedom Fighter leaders, or the leaders of the Southern and Eastern Freedom Fighters. He ends up capturing them, and basically it's down to just Sonic, Sally, Bunny, and Antoine. And when they try to communicate, they get no signal. Bunny's concerned, saying it doesn't sound good. Antoine basically says they might have been captured. And again, this is basically where we go. So basically, this is where Sally's like, okay, we're on our own. But Sonic, being Sonic, says, nope, that's not the case. We're not on our own. I'm on my own. He basically indicates to Sally, look. This whole thing's been about me and Robotnik. I'm the one he wants. It's between me and him. Let me get this done with. Let me do this. And that's what he does. So basically, after a little bit of an argument, Sonic basically tells Sally, with Sonic telling Sally, hey, the plan's blown. Basically, Robotnik knew we were coming. He wanted us to come. He fooled us. He tricked us, da-da-da. Not knowing Robotnik's overhearing, basically he's finally agreed. Basically, everybody finally agrees to let Sonic do what he has to do. Sally, of course, still wants to help. He says, no, you're going to slow me down. Bunny, basically being her BFF, says he's right. Sally gives Sonic Nicole. And basically, long story short, and I know I say that a lot here, I apologize. Sonic basically uses Nicole to find the central quarters or central base of the Doomsday, basically the brain of the Doomsday Project. And basically tries to blow it up by using some heat bombs or heat seekers, or basically some heat magnets to blow it up or disable it. But it doesn't work because Robotnik's prepared for that. Robotnik basically uses this opportunity to capture Sonic via vent, put him in a roboticizer that he created for Sonic himself, which basically, if you think about it, shows that the Doomsday Project wasn't just a machine to help finish what he started back when Sonic was like 5 years old, but it's also basically a trap to capture Sonic and roboticize him. But of course, Sonic finds a way to escape by using 3 power rings. Robotnik's not happy about it. Sonic meets up with the others, tell him that he failed. Basically, nothing came about him going solo here. And then finds out from Uncle Chuck that Robotnik left his half, because they have one half. Robotnik left his half of the deep power stones back in Robotropolis, because obviously Robotnik, having an ego himself, pretty much feels, I don't need it. Eat it, I'm just gonna win, da-da-da. So Sonic basically uncovers them, or finally, Sonic finds the deep power stone, brings it back, him and Sally, after Sally basically confesses her love for him by saying, no, you're not going alone this time because we are in it together, basically telling him that she wants, that if anything happens to them, she wants if anything was to happen to him, she wants to be there with him. So basically, to get to the end of this, to get to the point, and I do apologize for this going over 20 minutes. Basically, get to the point, they use the deep power stones to create infinite power, basically create incredible power, which allows Sally to temporarily gain the power of sonic speed, and as I even pointed out later on afterwards, a little bit of his personality, and it allows them, because even Sally says, if this kind of comments that because the freaking power stones get absorbed into the bodies temporarily. The bodies absorb the power stones, believe it or not. And Sally's like comments that how this must be how power rings feel like. And basically her and Sonic holding hands basically run around at sonic speed, destroying the Doomsday Project. Robotnik escapes, but according to Ben Hurst, gets sucked into a void by Naugus, who takes the opportunity because a void got open to suck him in. And basically, like I say, Sonic and Sally, they destroy the Doomsday Project. Snively escapes. The freedom fighters that were captured, they're able to escape. And, you know, the freedom fighters in the end, thanks to Sonic and Sally, they win. They destroy it. They high-five each other. Sally's impressed by, you know, what a power stone can, what a high five can do with the effects of a power stone. Then she wants to find out what happens with a kiss. And of course, like I said, that's probably a bit of Sonic's personality coming out in her. So Sonic being Sonic, he's like, I don't want to find out. Runs off. She follows him. She giggles, follows him, flies, if you will. They end up back in Knothole. Sonic kind of laminates. Oh, you know, no more Robotnik, too bad. You know, because he's thinking, you know, what am I supposed to do with no villain? You know, what's the hero supposed to do with no villain? And basically Sally tells him that he's always going to be her hero and everything. They kiss. Everybody's celebrating. But what they don't know is Snively, like I said, who escaped, emerges out of the wreckage of the Doomsday Project, says it's his turn, and behind him is two red eyes that look like Metal Sonic's eyes, making a lot of people believe it has to be Metal Sonic. But then we find out, courtesy of Ben Hurst, that it's actually Naugus. So, long story short, though, and I know I said that a lot, I apologize. The Doomsday Project saga, movie, whatever you want to call it, I thought was good. It did its job. I thought it was good. I like the fact that it was built up properly with like I said, a few exceptions, if you will. Like I said, with a few exceptions, I kind of like how it was built up properly. Like I said, with a few exceptions throughout season 2. And really, that's all I have to say about it. I mean, there's not really anything else I can say. You know, when you think about it, this is probably the best build-up throughout a season, like I said, with a few minor hiccups, for an overall climaxing 4-part finale to any series, either it was a season finale or series finale, that I think any animated show could have done. 90s, 2000s, 2010s, 80s, I think you could ever get. So, to me, I liked it. I really did. That's why I put those episodes together as a movie. You can ask Sarah Nizarak about it, Sean McLean at the Multimedia Chronicles. There are people that loved it. And that's all I have to say, folks. So let me know what your thoughts were on the Doomsday Project saga, the final 4 episodes, including the episodes that hinted at what was to come, which was Game Guy with the hint of the Freedom Fighter list, the Void episode, which introduced us to the Doomsday Project, as well as allowed Sally to get the list of Freedom Fighters finally, and the overall the Doomsday Saga episodes themselves. Let me know what you think down below. Again, I apologize for this going long.